Welcome back to the Unrevealed Realities, where we bring to light hidden stories, unseen struggles, and truths that linger in the shadows. This is Secret Chapters, stories where silent sacrifices, unspoken pain, and relentless hope shape destinies. It was 3:14 a.m. when the rickety cot in the single-room apartment creaked under the weight of more than just a tired body. The room was dimly lit by the weak glow of a bare bulb swinging from the ceiling, casting long, wavering shadows on cracked, peeling walls. On the floor lay a small mattress, a worn blanket, and near the doorway, a woman named Maya watched over 5 children fast asleep, their faces marked by innocence, hope, and the fragile weight of dreams she had pledged to uphold. Maya's world was measured in soft sighs and tight-lipped mornings. Years ago, she had taken a vow, not written on paper, but etched deep in her heart, that her children would rise beyond the poverty that threatened to swallow their childhood. She silenced every doubt, every whisper from society saying a single mother could never do it alone. What she carried was heavier than any burden, yet lighter than the hope she refused to abandon. At 4:45 a.m., before dawn had even stretched its fingers across the horizon, Maya stirred. She slipped her feet into battered sandals, pulling on a faded shawl around her shoulders. The air was cold, damp, carrying the smell of the nearby river and dust from unpaved roads. She tiptoed past her children, each wrapped in their dreams, and quietly stepped outside into the shivering hush of the city before sunrise. With soft steps and quiet prayers, she made her way to the tea stall by the corner of a busy street, one that served half-asleep workers and early risers. There she wiped tables, stirred chai, handed out biscuits, cleaning cups even before the first customer arrived. The owner, old and stern, never spoke more than a curt, "Thank you," but to Maya it sounded like kindness. The money she earned, mere handfuls, was counted with care and devotion, each coin a building block in a future she envisioned beyond the cramped room and dim walls. Back home at 7:10 a.m., she returned with a small packet of barely edible bread, a bit of milk, and stale cookies, what she could afford. She cooked a simple porridge, gently coaxing the children awake. One by one they rubbed sleepy eyes. Raza, the eldest at 17, then Layla, Yusuf, Saba, and little Hamid, just 9. They huddled close, hands trembling from cold and hunger, yet their eyes filled with trust. In their faces she saw a fragile hope, a belief that their mother was weaving something stronger than their poverty. Over that porridge, broken voices murmured prayers, and Mama Maya asked them with soft firmness, "Eat carefully, we have school soon." By 8 a.m., she walked them to the dusty neighborhood school, the one with broken benches and faded walls, yet for Maya it stood tall as a palace of promise. She watched them head inside, back hunched not from shame but from determination. As she turned away, a weight pressed on her chest, but it was not despair. It was resolve. She would bear this weight, no matter how heavy, because she had promised. As the day crept on, Maya took up another job, cleaning floors at a small factory not far from the river, where the smell of damp iron and wet cement clung to her clothes for hours afterward. The foreman barked orders, women shouted back in exhaustion. Maya moved silently among them, wiping sweat, scrubbing stains, enduring pain that made her bones ache. But her mind didn't drift to hardship. Instead, she ran numbers in her head, tuition fees, exam books, uniforms, and quietly made calculations. Simple math for a mother with no savings, but rich with hope. At 2 p.m., she took a brief pause, a small, dusty alley beside the factory where she sat on a crate, closed her eyes for a moment, and let the heat of midday sun burn away fatigue. A stray wind brought the distant sound of children laughing. Her own children's laughter. She clutched the small bag of rations she had bought. A handful of rice, some lentils, a little oil. It wouldn't be enough for dinner, but it was what she had. She murmured a prayer for strength, not for herself, but for them. By 6 p.m., after a day spent bending and toiling, she returned home, body heavy, knees weak. The room greeted her with damp air, the faint smell of dampness mixed with stale bread. Outside, the sky had turned a pale gray, winter creeping in. She warmed a small bowl of soup on a gas stove that hissed and sputtered. She ate the meager meal slowly, savoring every sip, every crumb. Not because it tasted good, but because it would mean something. Hope stretched a little further, a day survived more. As the night deepened, by 9:45 p.m., her children gathered around her, schoolbooks open, whispers filling the air. Candles flickered, casting dancing light across tired faces, scribbling pens, worn-out textbooks borrowed from friends, and old notebooks filled with dreams. She hovered nearby, offering what she could, a glass of water, a quiet word, sometimes a piece of leftover bread. Often, Raza would ask, "Mama, will we really be able to finish school?" And she would only smile, voice steady, "Yes, my child. You will finish," and more. Time passed, months turned into years, and with each passing season, the burden on Maya grew heavier, utility bills piling up, rent rising with reckless regularity, children needing new shoes, uniform tears, books that cost more than bread. Yet, somewhere, in the depth of that struggle, something bloomed quietly: resilience. A stubborn fire she refused to extinguish. Her earlier neighbors had predicted her failure. "You have 5 children, single woman, how will you manage?" Some days they would pass by, whispering judgments. Others days, open scorn, or worse, pity in their eyes. But Maya carried on, glancing neither left nor right, eyes fixed on the far horizon, where she believed a different life awaited. For herself, yes, but more importantly, for her children. One evening, at 10:30 p.m., the youngest, little Hamid, tugged at her sleeve. His voice soft, "Mama, there is no ink in my pen." Across the room lay empty shelves, no funds for a new pen, not even a borrowed one. Maya's chest tightened, she searched pockets, empty. Past that, only cold walls and silence. She closed her eyes briefly, fighting the sting of shame she refused to show. She opened her shawl, took out a tiny coin, almost worthless on its own. But for Hamid, it bought a small notebook and a stubby pencil from a neighboring shop. She handed them to him with a quiet nod, eyes not meeting his. He hugged her, breath warm on her shoulder, whispering, "Thank you, Mama." In that whisper, she heard the weight of generations, the birth of dignity. Cheap paper turned sacred in soft young hands. Years rolled on. One by one, children advanced through school. Through broken desks, cramped benches, torn books, missing shoes, missed lunches, through poverty that tried to swallow dreams like dust in a dry wind. But they persevered. Maya never missed her wages, never skipped a meal, and never once returned home without something small, if not fresh food, then borrowed books, half-baked roti, a modest cloth, anything to show. We continue. At 5 a.m. one February morning, just before dawn, Maya walked to her small kitchen stall once more, preparing tea for sleep-doting early workers. She paused for a moment, looked at the empty street, and for the first time in years, felt a quiet hope rise in her chest. Maybe this year, maybe this year. She didn't speak it aloud. She didn't need to. The wind carried it for her. As spring gave way to summer and summer to autumn, the children started making waves. Raza topped his class, earning a scholarship. Layla got a seat at college with hopes of becoming a teacher. Yusuf began night classes, studying engineering by the dim light of street lamps. Saba, ever shy and soft-spoken, blossomed into a confident student in arts, and Hamid, youngest and fragile, carried crayons in his hands and dreams in his eyes, wanting to paint a world bigger than their broken walls. With every small success came new costs: college fees, admission charges, tuition, books, transport. Maya took up extra shifts, weekends, evenings, whatever she could, cleaning offices, sweeping streets, washing dishes at restaurants, selling small handmade crafts at the market just to keep the ladder of education steady beneath her children's feet. Each evening she felt her bones ache deeper, her back bend further, yet inside, there was a fire. A flame maimed by hardship, but never extinguished. At 11:15 p.m. one cold December night, she sat among her children, one by one, hugging certificates, small ones at first, high school diplomas, merit lists pinned on shabby boards, newspaper clippings from local papers celebrating their names, each name a victory, each line a triumph over despair. Her eyes, red and swollen from tears that no one saw, glistened with pride. She touched each certificate with trembling fingers, whispering to herself, "You did it, all of you." The years went on. The room they lived in grew crowded, laughter replaced sighs, voices debated future dreams instead of hunger, hopes built, not destroyed. Raza left for the city to study medicine. Layla started teaching at a small school. Yusuf, after long nights and thrifted textbooks, earned admission in a technical university. Saba enrolled in arts college, carrying sketchbooks instead of tattered exercise books. Hamid, with tiny hands, now painted bright pictures and dreamed of colors beyond gray walls. There were nights when Maya stood alone on the balcony, looking at distant city lights, tears rolling down her cheeks, not of sorrow, but of gratitude too deep for sound. She thought of those early mornings, the bitter tea, empty stomachs, exhausted limbs, the whispers of neighbors, the cold floor, the broken walls. She felt the ache of every sacrifice, but also the warmth of every victory. Victory not just for her children, but for dignity silenced too long by poverty. Then came the day. At 10 a.m., the postman arrived with a letter addressed to Maya. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside, a small scholarship check for Yusuf, for his academic performance. It read, "Congratulations on achieving top marks. This grant is awarded to support your future." She stared at the amount, modest, but enough to cover one semester tuition and some books. She pressed the paper to her heart, closed her eyes, letting the reality of that small grant settle in. For a moment, the world felt lighter. The roads seemed wider, the future less distant. That evening, the family gathered around a single, small, second-hand radio. For once, no worries about the leaky roof or rent overdue. They listened to distant music, soft voices on airwaves, and laughter flowed around Maya like warmth. In the flicker of that old bulb, each face glowed, not with the pale sheen of survival, but with the radiant glow of achievement. Months passed. Graduation ceremonies, well-worn gowns borrowed from generous relatives, tearful embraces, shaky hands receiving diplomas, each of those moments was a stone laid in the foundation of a family. Rebuilt. At 4:30 p.m. on a crisp spring afternoon, when the youngest, Hamid, stood on a small stage picking up his certificate, Maya watched from the front row, shawl wrapped around shoulders still bent from years of labor. Her lips trembled, hands tight around the wooden bench, tears streaming, not flowing, but steady, like a river finally released from years of damming. That night, when she returned home, the room felt different. It smelled not of dampness and stale bread, but of new books, fresh clothes, possibilities. One by one, children came home. Yusuf with plans to shift city for university, Layla with job offer letters, Raza promising to help little Hamid get admission in art college. They closed the old wooden door behind them, turned on the lights, and the room shone, brighter than it ever had. Maya looked around. The cracked walls still stood, the worn mattress still lay in its corner, but everything felt renewed, like the same room, reborn. She realized she had done it. Not by magic, not by luck, but by sheer will, love, and sacrifice. She had carried them all, 5 children, across storms of neglect, nights of hunger, whispers of doubt, across emptiness into light. In the days that followed, their small apartment saw laughter, meals with real food, warm clothes during cold nights, school books with clean pages, plans for futures beyond cramped alleys. They spoke of medicine, engineering, teaching, art, of destinations far away from their humble beginnings. Poverty was no longer a sentence, but a memory. Scarred, bruised, but no longer defining. And Maya, she stood at the threshold of dawn each morning, wore her faded shawl one last time, and walked out, not as a woman broken by hardship, but as a mother who had built empires with nothing but love and resilience. She carried the weight of 5 graduates, 5 dreams, not on her shoulders, but in her heart. Years later, as she sat by the river watching children play, she felt something within her still simmering, not regret, not sorrow, not bitterness, but something deeper, pride. Quiet, steady, strong. The kind that does not announce itself with flourish, but with a soft, unwavering presence. Her children, scattered across cities and professions, called her often. They spoke of promotions and new responsibilities, traveled far, sent letters, promised returns, but in every message was a thread that tied them back to that small room, that broken cot, that mother who once whispered prayers at 3 a.m. under a bleak bulb. They swore to never forget. She never asked them to. Late at night, when silence crept in again, Maya would close her eyes and see not emptiness, but possibility. Not despair, but dawn. She had fought battles most would not understand, had sacrificed nights, dreams, health, pride, everything was risk, everything was gamble. But she played that hand anyway, because love had compelled her. And love won. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please subscribe to the Unrevealed Realities, like, share, and help bring more such untold stories.